I'd like to start us off today with an opening spiritual mind treatment. I'll do this in the first person. I invite you to, if you so choose, to take it for yourselves also in the first person. I know there's one power, one infinite intelligence, one universal presence. It is in, as, and through each of us. It is all of life showing up in a particular way as our individual selves. That wonderful power is living, moving, breathing, and working in us and through us at all times, right here and right now. So as I enter this time, I open my head and my heart to listen and to hear and to feel and to know the truth as it emerges from within my own consciousness in response to all that's happening around me. I do this with a real sense of anticipation of something good, of knowing that I will go from this place later having a better idea of myself, a better idea of life, a better idea of the world. This is my intent, this is my truth. I step into it with ease and joy and freedom. This is what I let be, I let it be so, and so it is. So it is. Thank you all. So welcome, wherever you are, whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your background, we welcome you. We celebrate your individuality. We are a teaching that's all about the expression of life. So there is no expression of life that we would say no to or would think of as any less than any other. So that you, whoever you are, whatever your background, whatever your life choices, whatever the givens of your current living situation or your current beingness, we celebrate it. We say thank you for being here, and we're glad that you're choosing to participate with us today. We're off to a great day with, I think Paul said it during the meditation, there's great chaos in life around us. We are a center of peace and focus here. And however, you're free to cheer if you pick up something you want to cheer about. Glad you're here. Glad to be here to do this. What guides us, what seems to be our focal point that we measure things against, are the teachings of oneness, the teachings of Dr. Ernest Holmes, and the teachings of others who are similar to him and come out of that same school. So one of the things we do each week is to share that with each other, to read it out loud so that we're declaring it for ourselves, and also so we're hearing from within us. Is this what I believe? Would my life be better if I believed more of it, or would it be better if I didn't? So that you get to choose the direction for your life and where you will live. So I invite you to join me, if you will, to stand and read together the Declaration of Principle. I believe in one God, one absolute power, and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe in the unity of all life, and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. Thank you. You may be seated. Our reading and treatment this morning is brought to us by the amazing and rather vivacious today, Reverend Angela. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? That Verizon guy went over the spring. So I've been involved in this Super Bowl madness. I just wanted to see it for myself and not hear what they said on television. So I went down Friday night, Saturday night, and I'm going to be down there tonight. I'm going to be outside the stadium, though. I didn't pay $27.50 to get a ticket. I'm seeing people get on the train because it's better to take the train in, right? Because if you try to park, forget about it. Last night, people were honking. I think they had a song going, and first the song was sweet, and then it got really aggressive. So I'm just seeing all the energy around. These girls were dressed really pretty one night, and one had her shoes off because her feet hurt. You know, ladies, when we wear the shoes too long, you know. But I'm not walking on that concrete in my bare feet, but she was. They get to their car, or where their car should be, there is no car. So now their car is towed. So now I'm thinking about all the many situations that are happening amongst the fun. The first day was Monday that started for me. I took my grandson to get an account open, and we were going to stop at one bank, and then there was another one next that was more suited for what we wanted, but we still didn't have everything we needed, so now I want to be angry at Q, right? But, power of now is what I'm going to read from the day. So I'm like, okay, you got to just be. So instead of getting angry, I walked out, and we were going to go to the car. The Hyatt let me park there, so I didn't have to pay $30 to park. That's how much it costs right now in the city. So it is. So we were getting ready to go back to the Hyatt, and guess who was pulling in? The New England Patriots. My grandson swear he saw Tom Brady on the bus, right? So it's been from Monday to now that we've been involved in the Super Bowl. Amazing. Patriots are really coming in. I think there's more Boston people than LA people. So I started to wear Boston colors because I was born in Boston. But I'm like, nah, let me be neutral. Because I have friends that are LA Rams fans, so I'm going to just sit quiet and watch and see what happens. With that said, we are also in the season of nonviolence. It started January 30th with the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi's date. And it will end on April 4th, which is the assassination date of Martin Luther King Jr., who we just celebrated his birthday. So as we're in the midst of this chaos in our city, sometimes our life is that way. I got to really feel the energy of other people, and I couldn't take but so much. And then that can happen in our own personal lives where we get in the energy of us and we can't take but so much. And what do? We get in the power of now. Because we can't worry about yesterday, can't deal with tomorrow yet, or even the next minute yet, because it's not here. All we have is now. Well, those of you who have a library like we do, and I went through lots of training to be here at this level, I've got lots of books. And one of the books that fell off the shelf this week in the midst of this was The Power of Now. So I'm going to just let whatever jumps out be what you can take for yourself, as I've been taking for myself. The quality of your consciousness at this moment is what shapes the future, which of course can only be experienced as now. And then I'll skip down on page 50. All negativity is caused by an accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present. Unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all forms of fear are caused by too much future and not enough present. Guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness are caused by too much past and not enough presence. So skip down again. It may be hard for you to recognize the time that the cause of your suffering or pain. You believe that you are caused by a specific situation or conventional viewpoint. That's not true. Presence, and I'm skipping again, presence is the key to freedom, so you can only be free in the now. So remember to stay in the now. Let me get you in the now. My daughter tasked my family with this, so I'm going to task you with this. We are also in Black History Month. And when I Googled the first day on February 1st, which is Friday, Sojourner Truth came up. And there was something about Sojourner that I didn't know. So there's lots of things that we don't know about some of our African-American heroes. But there's also heroes in your family, too. There are people that matter in our genetic line. So I tasked you to go search for your own family history to see what's happening in your own lives around how we got here today as a proud people. But the thing I'll tell you about Sojourner that connects with Kevin, who you learned Kevin's rules on the 20th, don't lie, pay attention, show up. He speaks Dutch. He grew up in Amsterdam. Well, Sojourner spoke Dutch. Now, I wonder why, right? The reason why was because her slave owners were Dutch. And you grow up speaking the language that is around you. So when she got sold and she didn't speak English, she was beaten more because she couldn't understand what they were saying. So she learned English very fluently and very quickly. But I think the transition from one language to another also inspired her to know more about herself and what she was capable of. And she decided to be a freedom. She emancipated herself. What? I'm emancipated from all this grief, anger, disaster that goes around in others' lives, and you create in the power of now what you want in your own. So let us use the gift that Ernest Holmes gave us, which we call treatment, affirmative prayer. This is your power of now. You say in the I am of who you are and what you want to be. So I'm going to speak in first person. Please take this for yourself. As you decide to either keep your eyes open or closed, I do want you to breathe in and out and just kind of open your posture so you can let all the light and love in. And as we breathe in and out, this is a reminder that this substance is ready available to all of us everywhere all the time. That's how this power is, no matter what we call it, whatever name. There is only one power. I use that power now. I use it to be a vibrant, healthy contributor to this global community that I live in. As I walk the streets of the city that I pick, I see the love and the light in everyone's eyes that's visiting from all over the U.S. They're coming here in a celebration like I come here to celebrate the truth about my consciousness and living a conscious life. So as we get into the knowing that we can let go of any regret and all the listing of what I just read, I know that I can be in my happy. And in the season of nonviolence, the peace that comes that surpasses all understanding is where I live my life. Peace comes before anything else, and that's where everything else grows. I live here knowing that this is where I should be, and each of us decide where we should be. We're here to open up to this message so we can take more of life in and live it to the fullest. And people will wonder, what are you doing? And it's knowing the truth about ourselves and living in our authentic truth and being that magnificent ray of light that shines the way to happiness, love, and light. We give thanks for everything. I give thanks for now. I give thanks for what will be, because what I'm planting now is taken into my future. And as you do the same, I love, I live, I laugh. And as I give thanks, there is more to be thankful for. We release this with a powerful knowing, and it returns to us multiplied abundantly. And so it is.
So it is. So, we have just completed the Big Four talks, which I look forward to every year, and other people do because more people come. So I assume they're looking forward to those talks. And those talks are all about the thing itself, spirit, God, life, the way it works, what it does, and how we use it. And through that, you get a real solid idea of the basic core ideas of our teaching. And then what I like to do in February is follow that by looking at how we apply that in the four major areas of our lives. We have, I don't know who first divided it up this way, and I don't know that there's an infinite, ultimate truth to it, but we, for convenience sake, have divided our lives into love, health, wealth, love, and relationship. I mean, love and creative expression, which some people call work. And we'll talk about that later in the month. Today we're going to start looking and talking a little bit about this business of health. We live in a culture that is health-driven. The health industry has become huge, and many, many people are engaged and involved in that because we are all so interested in health. And I want to talk a little about it today from the standpoint of this teaching, from what we know to be the truth, and from the idea that whatever the issue is you're interested in, if it is your health, your wealth, if it is love, if it is your work, that one of the best affirmations, and I think one of the best ways to look at this, is that every day, in every way, my life gets better and better. Dr. Holmes says in the Science of Mind textbook, as you know, he's the founder of this amazing teaching of ours, that you don't change your consciousness like you'd change a glass of dirty water. You don't take a glass of dirty water and suddenly dump it all out and then fill it up with clean water. If you did that with your minds, we'd all be a little nutty, and we'd all be a lot nutty, and wouldn't be able to function very well. So we don't get to just empty our heads out of all the nonsense we've learned over the years that we've been told by the culture or anything else, nor should we. Instead, what we do is we clean up that glass of water by dropping a little truth into it every day. A little more of the right idea, like with a dropper, until the water slowly clears and clears and clears until it can get to a very pure state. The whole business of this teaching is about consciousness. It is about developing and creating the consciousness that you desire to have in order to live the life you desire to have, you desire to live. And underlying that is the idea that we have the power within us to do that there is nothing stopping us from creating that consciousness once we know how. Once we're clear about this thing called life, and once we're clear about spiritual law and how it works, and once we're clear about the thing itself, what it does, how to use it, then we can begin to apply it to these things a little every day. Now, there are times, granted, where you may have you hit one of those moments where you go, aha, and everything different opens up, and the water changes faster than it might have been at another time. And those are good and wonderful too. So we're not putting any limits on how fast we change or the way we change, but we are saying that every day and every way, my life is getting a little better. So I want to talk about this business of health and this business of dis-ease. See, what we know from the understanding of this teaching is that there is within us a connection, a flow of that infinite power, that infinite goodness, that consciousness of perfection and rightness and wholeness and completeness. And it is right here present within us all the time. It is expressing, it is showing up as those four areas of life. And we live our lives. We remember, we reveal more and more as we are opening up. We're revealing more and more of that inner perfection, truth, and health. Emma Curtis Hopkins says that we do not come to, as broken, injured beings, to be healed. We come as perfect spiritual beings to be revealed, to be seen for the truth of who we are. And that means us seeing ourselves that way and then inviting the rest of the world to see us that way. When a practitioner works with you, that is the approach they take. We're here to reveal that perfection that's already in you. We don't have to create it. We don't have to make it. We don't have to somehow conjure it up. We leave those kind of things to other groups. What we do is simply recognize what's already there. And by seeing it and recognizing it, we empower it to life within us. We empower it to show up. By seeing the perfection in each other, by seeing the wholeness, by seeing the health in each other, we awaken that for us and for one another. So I want to talk a little about disease, and I want to talk a little about health. Dis-ease is primarily a mental issue. Primarily. You say, oh no, you don't understand, Bob. Wait a minute. I was born with this. My mama had it, now I got it. We have all kinds of explanations and reasons why our diseases and our illnesses are givens that we don't have any impart or impact on, that we're victims of. But if it's true that we are consciousness first, and it is, and if it's true that our bodies live within our consciousness, which they do, and they are the expression of our consciousness, which they are, then disease starts with consciousness. Starts somewhere, somehow in our minds. Now, it doesn't end there, unfortunately. Wouldn't that be nice? If you could just think about having cancer instead of having it. Or if you just think about a cold when it's supposed to fall and feel better because you've cleaned your body out, which is what all a cold does. It just kind of, it's like the leaves are falling and you clear out all your leaves so you can move on through your next day. But it isn't. Because our bodies are one with us. Our bodies are expressions of the same infinite power. Therefore, when there has been somewhere in our consciousness through ignorance, through being given to us before we knew it, through buying into the culture of the world around us that says illness is necessary and important, whatever the way that seeps into us, it starts there in consciousness, in mind, in a mental idea. And then it lives itself out in our bodies. And sometimes once it gets into the body and the body gets to that appearance and that process going, then we have to address it there as well as in consciousness. One of the things I love about this teaching is we don't ask you to check your brain at the door, nor do we ask you to accept things blindly. We are religious science. We scientifically look at these things and try them for ourselves. So the idea is that we work with doctors when the doctor has the consciousness to heal us, to take care of the physical things that need to be taken care of. But along with that, we work with our own minds to know a better idea than what the disease is showing us and what is showing up. See, a consciousness of health will free us from those diseases by replacing them with a better idea. And developing that consciousness of health is really what this is all about and what our task and our role is. And we do that not by fighting diseases. We don't do that by being afraid of them. We don't do that by justifying them. We don't do that by coming up with some kind of idea that somehow this is a lesson, that God gave me this disease so I could learn something. That's a weird kind of God. I left that one behind a long time ago. We come to this with the idea that dis-ease is simply a reflection of dis-ease in consciousness. Mine, individually, or that of the collective that I've accepted into my experience and believed I'm part of it. If you believe that a certain percentage of people are going to be sick and that illness has a certain place in your life and the life of your family, then it will. But if you have the courage and the willingness and the discipline to take charge of your consciousness and change that idea, then that will change as well. The physical experience of it will change. See, disease is one of the false ideas we have about disease is that it's a necessary part of life. That we got to have it. We've built a huge industry around it. We get real interested in it. People get together and do organ recitals. Have you ever been in one of those? Where you're reciting this organ and that organ, and my liver, my liver, watching my liver now, and then there's this part of my body, and then there's that part of my body. And we end up getting all caught up in the disease process and seeing it as something alive and something creative that is creating greater chaos in our lives. As opposed to seeing it as simply a shadow of something in consciousness that isn't really true anyway. Kennedy Schultz, in his book, You're the Power, says that, wouldn't it be interesting when someone asks you, how are you? If you said, I am fabulous. I have got more money than I know what to do with. My friends all love me. I'm well beloved. I have a great job. My life is just great. They probably wouldn't talk to you again. And yet so our tendency, because of the way our cultural beliefs are, that we connect around our problems, right? Isn't it a thrill when you've got something going on and you hear somebody else that's got the same thing? You're like, oh, good, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one suffering from this. Well, I hope that's not as true for you as it is for the rest of the world out there. It comes and goes for me, I'll be honest. Because the important thing, what we're trying to do with that is connect and be experiencing that oneness. How much better to experience the oneness around my health? Let me tell you how good I feel. I don't look 80 years old. I'm not 80 years old. I don't look my age. I don't act my age. My niece used to tell my sister and I, and this is just a few years ago, that when all of this stuff was going on about inner child, she says, "Oh, you and Uncle Bobby, your inner child is on the outside and has been there and probably going to always stay there." And she was right. See, the point is we get to choose where we're going to put our emphasis. We can put our emphasis on how bad it all is and how special we are for having a unique diagnosis, or we can watch TV at night and get 400 new diagnoses you didn't even know about, and the drugs that will fix them, right? I mean, we just keep creating these things because it's big business to be sick, and it's big business to connect around being sick. And when you need it, absolutely. When your body has already got a process going and you need that kind of intervention, go for it. Absolutely. We've got amazing science now that can do things that 10 years ago was unheard of. Heart surgeries without ever opening you up. You just couldn't do anything with the heart without cracking your chest. And then that process alone was almost worse than what the thing was they were healing. Now we can just go forward. Don't have to do that. That's consciousness at work in a very positive, powerful way. So I'm not disparaging that at all. What I'm suggesting is, though, if we get so focused on that all we can think about is what's wrong with us, then we have to keep having something wrong with us to have something to think about. Heal one thing and move on to the next. And we live in a culture that has told us after a certain age, it used to be about 45, now it's moved up to 55 or 60 or 65, and I'm glad they can move it right on out for my part, that at a certain point your body's going to start to deteriorate. You got to expect to have this disease or that disease or this thing going wrong with you, and if you don't have it, you better go to the doctor anyway just to be sure you don't, and get all these tests done, and et cetera, et cetera. And again, if you're concerned about it, do it. But what if you could decide to create a consciousness of health that says, that's not true for me. I am absolutely perfect health. I have all the vitality and energy, and my vitality and energy is growing and getting greater and bigger and larger rather than goofier and more confused and more tired. Now, one of the things that goes with that, you have to take the behaviors that help you do that as well, which sometimes can be challenging if you don't like to do those behaviors. But you have to take those steps. But you get to choose, and either choice is fine. Either choice is good because you're free, absolutely free. See, health is a wholeness. It's our natural state. Disease is not our natural state. Health is our natural state. Look at the world around you. Look at nature. Identify with nature and watch how it grows. Things don't have to get sick to die. That's one of the lies we tell ourselves. And one of the ways that health has gotten such a hold in our consciousness so often is that there's a great belief that death and disease are together. They're united. You can't die without a disease. Well, that's just not true. It's not true in nature. It wasn't true in many of the Aboriginal communities and folks. It's not true today. Another Kennedy story I always loved was that Aunt Susie died of a Tuesday. The family gets together for the funeral, and the city boy is asking the country boy, so what Aunt Susie die of? And all he can think of is, she died of a Tuesday. Because there was no disease. I have a dear friend who was part of this teaching who died of a Friday. Had nothing wrong with him. He had sold his business. He had sold his home. He was getting ready to buy a home in another place. He had some plans. I went home from that day from work, went to bed, was reading his Science of Mind textbook. We found him 4 days later actually, with the book on his chest, and he had made his transition. He hadn't suffered. He hadn't been sick. He didn't need to be sick. He knew when his time was done on some deep, deep level. He had all kinds of things he had already pulled out and started completing and finishing up. We don't need disease to justify dying. When we're done, we can just sit down and go. We can be there. Aboriginal folks had done that for years. Once the elder is ready to go, he goes out, sits down under a tree and dies. It doesn't need to be sick. You get to choose that. See, because death is not the end. Death is just transition to the next phase of joy and excitement in life. Everything we're doing now, it just expands even more and even more. So part of developing a consciousness of health is getting over our fear of that transition. I'm not afraid of dying, but I don't want to suffer. Thank you very much. In the meantime, and I'm not ready yet. Just so any of you that are treating, I'm not ready yet. I will get there soon enough, but not yet. I still got some stuff I want to do here while I have hands and toes and fingers and can make it happen that way. So creating a consciousness that's not afraid of death, that knows that the natural state, your natural state, is one of health. I think of Raymond Charles Barker in his reading of the newspaper every morning, where he would read it all the way through, and he'd put it down and slam his hand down on it and say, oh, there's not a word of truth in it. So when a doctor gives you a diagnosis and tells you what's going to happen, it's not a word of truth in it. It's a statement of that doctor's knowledge and limitation, not a statement of your ability to heal. Work with that doctor as long as they believe in your ability to heal, but the moment they stop, find somebody else. Because there are now enough of us out there who know that anything can be healed anytime if we have the energy, the focus, and the discipline to change our minds about it. And that takes some doing. Kennedy says you got to get tough with yourself. He used to say, grab yourself by the back of the neck and say, you've done this work, you're doing this work, now pay attention. Talking to yourself. That self-talk is what carries it, what brings it forward. See, don't be worried about occasional thoughts that come up, like the thing you might have thought about a driver coming in today, or the thing that passes through your mind when you see those TV commercials and you think, wow, I wonder if that's me. You know, these random thoughts, these ideas that pass through really have no power. It's what you believe, what you hold on to, what you consciously and habitually think about it that has the power to take root in your body and begin to show up in your body. And that's true for both the positive and negative. We do not create a consciousness of health by an occasional healthy thought. Oh, I'm healthy and vital today. It takes a little more than that. It takes really digging into our own consciousness of health, being ready and willing to deny those things that aren't true and that we know not to be true, and deny giving power to physical expressions that are simply reflections and shadows and not real in that sense. A consciousness of health is about living fully and freely in this moment, with richness, with aliveness. Holmes also says that we need to get in the habit of thinking about the solution, not the problem. Emmett Fox says, change your mind and keep it changed. That's the hard part for me. I can change my mind a lot. Ask the people who hang out with me. Oh boy. But it's keeping it changed. Once I get it changed, once you get it changed into that truth about health, not letting other people's arguments deter you from what the truth is that you know. Not letting the TV or the popular this or that change your mind from the truth that you know. That can be difficult. There's a lot of pressure sometimes. That we get back to the discipline piece. Disciplining ourselves to fully ground and focus in the truth as we know it. We are eternal spiritual beings. We are free to live according to our best idea of our lives. And we have all of the tools to do that available within us as close as our next breath and our next thought. We have the freedom to choose and to be what we want to be. See, when we deny those diseases power, we're not denying that they exist. Sure they do. If I'm sneezing, I'm sneezing. I'm not going to pretend I'm not. But I'm going to ask myself, what am I clearing out? What am I believing about the world around me that I'm reacting to? Or what is some belief I've accepted from someone else about that? that it's the fall, therefore I'm supposed to, or it's the spring, and therefore I'm supposed to. I'm also not saying that this disease is imagined. To say that it's in our consciousness first, it's our minds first, I'm not saying that you just imagined it. It's not real. Another great story. A couple been coming to the center for a number of years, and then she starts showing up without her husband, and her friends come up and want to know, well, where's John? Well, John's at home, got a cold. Okay. No, he doesn't have a cold. He just thinks he does. A couple of weeks later, she's back, and still no John. Where's John? Well, John's really sick. No, he's not. He just thinks he's sick. Then she doesn't show up for 2 months. She shows up 2 months later, and her friends come up and say, well, where's John? Oh, John thinks he's dead now. So we're not saying that the physical expression isn't there, isn't real, isn't an appearance. But what I am saying is that your power of thought and truth and belief is greater than any physical expression yet. The other part of that is that it takes a lot of work to make those changes. It's easier to do it when you're well, when you're healthy. It's a little harder when you've got some major kind of thing going on, but it can still be done. It often takes a little more support from practitioners or peers to do it at that point, but you still can. We have to come to the belief that our consciousness of health is stronger and more powerful than any disease. Just as you have to come to that about your prosperity, about every other aspect of your life. That the power within you, the power of spirit life itself that is within you is more powerful than anything that shows up in your life. You're more than your history. You're more than who you seem to be right now. And that more can keep coming and keep coming. Every day in every way I get better and better and better. So when you recognize this truth in you and you build on this knowing, disease just doesn't stand a chance. The only other thing I think I need to say is don't beat yourself up if you're sick. Don't stay away from here thinking you shouldn't come tell anybody because that means you're a bad religious scientist and you have a silly consciousness. We all live in a world where we are bombarded. We have all at times or another had one kind of illness or dis-ease, whether it's physical dis-ease or some other dis-ease. What we offer here is a supportive community to help you know something better and help you move from that place to a place of greater freedom, greater joy, and greater life. That's why we're here. That's what it's all about. I got an email or a text today from a friend about the Super Bowl. And he said he doesn't have a team. I don't either. My treatment for the Super Bowl, folks, is that everybody comes out healthy and safe and the referees get it all right. You know? My sister lives in New Orleans. I don't need to say anything else. You know? But what he says in there is that, the people in that game, these are men, I think it's all men playing football still. These are men who are dedicated, who have poured their lives, their energies, their hearts, all of their work into a cause and a purpose. And by doing that, they have moved up the ranks to achieve this level of ability to compete with each other and to show up in this Super Bowl. And what I thought when I read that, and that's the same thing it takes for us to create a consciousness of health in the midst of all the contradictions that we are surrounded by. A consciousness of oneness in a world that has two-ness going at us all over the place. Coming at us saying, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. This team wins, this team loses. What about everybody wins? What about you win? What about oneness? That's all there is. So I invite you to decide how important it is. To decide how dedicated and committed you can be to creating a consciousness of health. And if yours is already pretty much there, cool. just keep adding to it every day in every way with good ideas, with visualizations, with spiritual mind treatment, with all of the spiritual tools that we teach here. Because all of that adds to your power and your ability to live the freedom that is yours by birthright, by being alive. Because you deserve the very best, because you're wonderful, and so am I. So it is. Thank you. Thank you. So let's take a moment and I invite you to turn your attention to your own consciousness. I will offer a few moments of silence, and then I'll lead us in a spiritual mind treatment on health. There is only one power, one light, one life, one energy. It is a creative consciousness that is flowing in as and through everything. It is in us as it breathes us and beats our hearts, thinks our thoughts. It is as us as it moves through us doing this, and it is us. Because we are it and it is us, and there's no separation. We are each an expression of that one. Unique, beautiful, wonderful, joyful, precious. And knowing that, I recognize that the birds singing outside are singing for us. The air conditioner running and keeping us comfortable is for us. The beautiful power of life that flows and that we are is for us. And there is nothing anywhere that is not for us. And so I claim for myself a consciousness of health. Healthy living, healthy body, healthy mind, healthy prosperity, healthy in every area. And as I claim that, I know it easily opens and awakens for me because there's nothing holding it back. There's nothing pushing against it. I release any resistance I have, conscious or unconscious, to the idea of being fully, completely alive, vital, and healthy, growing every day in every way towards a greater and greater life, not diminished in any shape, way, or form. I stand in the truth that all that Spirit has to offer, all that this infinite consciousness, this creative power is offering to me, I am open to receiving, and receiving more and more and more. And as I receive, it becomes who and what I am. So that inner perfection, that inner truth starts to show more and more on the outside in my life experience. I walk in a greater idea. I live in a place of freedom. And I choose the life of my joy. In that choosing and in this moment, I can stand in gratitude. Gratitude that we have a universe that works this way and that we have paid attention and learned how to utilize it for the greater good of ourselves individually and for all humankind, all of creation. I'm grateful as we stand in this truth that it is simply saying yes, 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 yes. I accept that yes wholeheartedly and open-mindedly. I let it be. It is my truth, and so it is. Thank you. All right. Wow. So we're going to take up a silent offering. That means no jingles, just the quiet rustling. I've been waiting till I knew you all well enough to say that, okay? That was an old Baptist thing that I used to hear when I was a kid. We don't want no noisy offerings. We had metal plates so that every time somebody threw change in, the minister up front could hear it. Here's what I know, though. I know this is a prosperous community. I know this center is a great idea in the mind of God. And I know, therefore, that the giving and bringing that you do keeps us here and keeps us growing and keeps us alive and well because of your love for this center and this teaching and its being here in this place. And I'm grateful for every one of you. There are so many of you who give through our website, who give through electronics. Many of you put it in the plate when it comes around. Even if you aren't able to contribute financially, give a gift when the plate comes around. Take a moment and offer a blessing, offer a good word for this place and its growth so that we continue to expand and be a place of healthy consciousness and healthy prosperity.